Hi and good morning, and thanks everybody for joining us here today on this ISV and Voyager webinar. There's a few things we'd like to cover today, but the main focus is obviously how to hire right every time in 3 easy steps. I can see there's a fair few of you still logging on, so for those of you who've already joined, thank you very much. I'll give a cue. Okay, so there's a couple of people on the right hand side of the screen have already realized that there's the opportunity to pop out a message. If you've got any questions, just to notice there's a fair few coming through already. What I'll do, if it's okay, is I'll kind of summarize some of those as we go through the session, and maybe any that are quite specific we'll maybe focus on right at the end, and I'll reply to individually. Anyway, jumping in at the deep end, what's today all about? Well, it's about the cost of a bad hire and how to avoid making bad hiring decisions, how to spot the bad eggs in the hiring process, and of course, how to avoid hiring the catfish. A little bit about myself and my colleague Roland. My name is Paul Thompson. I've been in the recruitment industry for the best part of 25 years. Like many people, I'm an ex-recruiter and recruitment manager, and during my time at my current employer, I've helped upwards of 800 recruitment firms implement technology to make their lives smarter and easier and less painful. I currently sit on the DSG Group Product Steering Committee, which basically means that I take what can often be quite complicated and technical solutions and deploy them to our customers in a way that makes them easy to understand and use. But I'm also joined by my colleague Roland. Over to you.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Roland Chismarik. Good morning, everyone. I'm an expert in online skills testing, e-learning, and psychometric profiling. I have been working with and helping the largest recruitment organizations in the UK and large corporate clients across the world in improving their selection processes, and I would be more than happy to help you too. But before I do that, I will hand it back to Paul for a couple of slides.
Okay, so the problem in brief. Well, when it comes to hiring new employees, the gap between expectations based on a candidate's CV in the interview and the reality of their performance can be quite significant. At the application level, inaccuracies and discrepancies on CVs are far more commonplace than employers and recruiters would like to believe. Just to back that up a little bit, a few minutes on Google and you'll find similar messages and stories all over the place. We work very, very closely with the REC in the UK and around Europe, which is hopefully relevant for some of the people joining us here today. They're the closest thing to the governing body in the recruitment industry. They did some recent surveys and polls and found that, roughly speaking, the cost of a bad hire is 3 times that first person's salary. The example they gave top left is based on a mid-level manager in an NHS trust. But bad hiring affects the entire team. You know, 41% will have a huge impact on your productivity if that bad person joins that team. And it's not just on the employer, it's on the employee as well. It can have a huge impact on morale if there's a team trying to pull together and somebody isn't able or capable of doing their job. Looking over to the stateside, I was working with some companies last night having a similar conversation, and they quoted some horrific stories where people were given a position of trust and it had a hugely negative impact on the client's relationship. They pointed me towards this slide here on the right, which shows 18% damage to relationships with clients, which could be fatal for a business. So a couple of quotes. Well, may or may not have heard of Tony, founder of Zappos, on the route to getting acquired by Amazon for 1.2 billion. He was famously quoted as saying that bad hires had cost him £100 million, pointing to a domino effect within the organization, which was largely caused by poor and inadequate vetting procedures. And again, the REC, we work very closely with those guys. Like I say, they average the cost of a bad hire being £132,000. It's a huge amount of money. Imagine being gifted that as a profit at the end of the year as opposed to a cost during the year. A couple of brands for people in the UK and in Europe. CV Library, more recently ventured into the States as well, but the CV Library is a brand that many will know. They're essentially a job board. They quoted that 90% of UK job seekers had lied on their CVs, and unbelievably 70% of those then going on to getting a job. Careers Builder, a similar business based out in the States, their statistics were based on low-end vacancies and low-value hires, but still quoted between $7,000 and $10,000. So it's big money no matter where you're going. Just to make this a little bit more relevant to the people who have this problem themselves, we created the cost of a bad hire calculator. It takes seconds to fill it in. Follow a few steps and you'll work it out for yourself. It doesn't really matter whether you're an individual recruiter working as a search firm or whether you're part of a larger recruitment team, maybe dealing with high volume industrial recruitment or just a commercial high street agency. The cost of the bad hire is absolutely huge. Use our calculator, it's free. Feel free to share it and recommend it amongst your colleagues, and it will give you a very real value on what the damage could be to your team. But also consider the cost of a bad hire in your own recruitment team, and then transpose that to the cost to your client. So, things you could do right now. Why not identify a recruitment process that's relevant for the role? You know, we need to reduce the volume of applications in order to focus on the quality. Give yourself adequate time for CV selection and review. I'm guilty of this myself, having hired a number of people within the team. Recruitment is something that you always need to do. We're always looking for good people, but being proactive about your recruitment process will make life a little bit easier. Why not include killer questions during the advertising phase? Some job boards now are implementing online skills testing. Why not implement it on your front door? If you're letting anybody walk through your shop into the office, as essentially they are on your job board application and your website, why not put some killer questions in to just weed out some of the basics? Why not implement telephone and video screening as part of the search and selection process as well? And of course, test your candidates' skills, knowledge, and personality traits. 6 obvious things you could do right now, but many recruitment companies don't take those simple steps. So what is online testing and how does it work? Roland, this is one for you for sure.
Excellent, thank you very much, Paul. So basically, I'm going to be focusing on how to validate the candidate knowledge and how to make sure that you're putting the right candidates forward for each and every role you're recruiting for. So I'm going to be talking about the administrator side, so your side, as well as we'll touch on the candidate experience as well later on. So first of all, it's really easy and simple to implement a testing system into your selection process. All you need is internet and a web browser. So it's simple as that. If you have a CRM or applicant tracking system, you can integrate the testing solution into that as well. So you don't need to log into 2 different systems all the time. In terms of testing candidates and individuals, you can test them remotely by sending them an email, or you can invite them into your office to do so. So if you have an assessment day coming up, you can quite easily and simply invite your candidates into the office to ask them to do the test there and then. So hopefully this solution is going to give you some value, and it will save you time, money, and effort moving forward. And hopefully this could also give you and your sales team a differentiator. So obviously there are so many recruitment agencies out there fighting for the best candidates, but this is definitely something you can do to make sure that you are putting the right ones forward. So what kind of tests are there? So there are 4 different types. The first is the basic skills tests. These are like data entry, copy typing, audio typing. So wherever there's a measurement included, like typing speed, these kind of tests fall into this category. The second one is knowledge tests. So these are literacy, numeracy, general aptitude, or the Microsoft Office packages. Between basic skills knowledge and psychometric assessments, there are another category called reasoning assessments, or the so-called gray area. So it's somewhere in between the basic and knowledge tests, as well as the psychometric assessments. These are verbal, numeric reasoning, and prioritization. And the fourth option is, and category, is the psychometric assessment. So there are loads of psychometric assessments out there. We can help with personality profiling based on the Big 5, but it actually measures 10 personality areas. But as a bonus, in terms of what you can get for your investment, if you want to test candidates on something more specific, something we do not cover with the built-in tests, there are going to be options for you to build your own tests with the highly specialized template builder function. So long story short, if you have the content, we'll give you the tool to be able to build your own if you wish. So let me tell you a little bit more about results. So there are different types of reports out there, but I'm going to be talking about the two most important ones. So the first one is definitely the profile report. So based on that, Steve Adams completed the basic numeracy test, and he only used 89% of the time, and he scored 75% on the test. But we are trying not just to give you basic information, but we'll help you put this result in perspective as well. So based on the percentile rank on the right-hand side, this 75% is better than or equal to around 56 or 58% of all the other results in the entire system. So with that, you will be able to compare candidates against everyone else in the entire system and against everyone else within your system if you wanted to. Should you wish to drill down even more into the details, the discipline comprehension section will give you a very easy to understand view of your candidate's skills and knowledge. So basically, you can identify any of the weak, proficient, and strong discipline areas without actually having to spend too much time on the report itself. These are the discipline areas that are going to be displayed in the comprehension section in the middle as well. The other report I wanted to quickly mention, I'm just conscious of time, but this is definitely one of the most frequently used ones, is the individual comparison report. So with that, you can shortlist candidates based on their test results, and you can base this comparison on multiple assessments they've completed before. So the general overview is going to give you the shortlist of your candidates, and based on that, Paul Mather would be the best, and Steve Hammond and Paul Green. They all fall into the strong category. However, there are certain differences in terms of their performances. So if you want to take a look at these differences, the exercise overview and the detailed report is going to give you a better insight, and it will give you the shortlist of your candidates again based on every single assessment or every single discipline area within every single assessment they've completed before. Also, let me give you a quick example in terms of how you can use and utilize the individual comparison report. So let's say that Steve Hammond is one of my colleagues and he's sitting right next to me, and we are really happy with his performance when it comes to the Microsoft Office packages. So what I will do, since I have access to Steve, I'll ask him to complete the test, exactly the same test as I'm sending out to candidates. And when it comes to comparing these individuals against each other, I will include Steve as well. And I will be able to quickly and easily tell that Paul Mather as a candidate would be even better than Steve Hammond, who we are really happy with. So there's different options and different ways in which you can utilize these kind of reports. There are training reports in the system and out there. If you're using the video-based Microsoft Office training as an example, you will be able to check the progress of the training in terms of the completed topics and modules. Skills analysis report and the individual progression report, these are for enterprise use primarily, but obviously it's good if you're going to be retesting the same individuals multiple times so that you can analyze their skills better and you can see their progress over time. So let me talk about the candidate experience very quickly. So hope you don't mind, but I'm going to be starting out this slide with a bit of a technical background and detail. So long story short, there are loads of testing providers out there, and they're still using the so-called Flash player on the candidate side. So the Flash player is the delivery method, the delivery agent on the candidate side. But the Flash player is going to be phased out by Adobe in the coming months, and this Flash player is creating issues on the candidate side already. So our system is running on a so-called HTML5 player to get around that technical phase out. So candidates will be able to complete the assessments without any technical issues or without having to download anything or enable anything in their system. Also wanted to show you a few quick examples in terms of what kind of test questions are there in the system. So we obviously cover the Microsoft Office packages. and the assessments are interactive in a way that obviously the system will show your candidates print screens of the actual system. We cover numeracy, basic numeracy, as well as more advanced numeric reasoning with more graphs in there. And in terms of customer service, we have a customer service simulation test, which has an audio file. It's a recorded phone conversation, and then the candidates are expected to answer multiple choice questions as well as gather information based on the call. So hopefully this gave you a bit of an insight in terms of how the system could benefit you, and what the system looks like on the candidate side. So basically, you can implement processes that reduce the poor quality applications and reduce the cost of registering your candidates. And as I've mentioned it before, this could give your sales department and sales team a differentiator as well. So I would say test your candidates for peace of mind. This will give you the confidence that you're putting the right candidates forward for each and every role you are recruiting for. But don't just take our word for it. Obviously, as I mentioned, we have been working with the largest recruitment agencies in the country, in the UK, as well as large corporate clients. So they are trusting us with their testing processes.
Yeah, thanks, Roland. It's great to see some of those really big brands out there. I think my takeaway from this would be that, having been at the company where I am now for such a long time, having worked with nearly 1,000 recruitment companies, quite often it's the largest firms that are implementing technology like this. But it doesn't have to be for just the biggest companies. If you're a small recruitment team, one of your best differentiators can be that you are a professional recruiter doing things thoroughly. I think the industry has changed a lot in recent years. People expect a good service from a recruitment agency. It's made very easy for agencies to be bypassed. We can hire ourselves very quickly through the job boards, and indeed the job boards that were sold exclusively to agencies are now being targeted to the hiring managers, people like myself. So there needs to be a genuine reason as to why I would use an agency, and it's not just because we can't find the candidates ourselves. If I'm looking to hire someone, I want a quality candidate to walk through the door. I expect the agency to earn their money in that respect. So I think there's a few things that we can do. We mentioned at the start there's 3 things we can do. I think we should get professional. Having worked in the industry for many, many years, as I've said, I still meet recruitment companies who are doing things, I don't want to say on the cheap, but they're not doing it as well as they could. I think quite often the perception is that things like skills testing, meeting your candidates, checking references, background screening, it's seen as a luxury item. I think the companies I've been working with recently would see that as a minimum requirement for a recruitment company. So I think there's a couple of things we should do. Let's take control of what's within our control. It's a choice to test candidates or not. Psychometric profiling is extremely cheap. If you're trying to hire a salesperson, they have certain traits, and we should probably look for those people during that recruitment process rather than take a gamble and put someone forward. I think it's also overlooked that there's virtually no financial barrier to setting up a skills testing platform. The cost between £1 and £4 per test is insignificant. I would certainly spend more parking the car for the interview and the coffee than I probably would have paid on the skills testing platform. And change process for the benefit, for the better. Only the dinosaurs get extinct. If you work in a recruitment team and your processes are what they are just because that's what they've been for all these years, take a step back. If you're going to leave and set up on your own, would you not expect skills testing to be part of your onboarding process? And when I mean onboarding, I don't mean getting the candidate the job. I mean, if you're going to hire yourself, think of it like this. If you're an expanding recruitment company, would you not expect the candidates to be of a certain quality on both personality fit and ability? Or would you take the risk of hiring somebody based on a 45-minute interview and a quick chat? Try to recognize that being a professional recruiter is in itself a differentiator in a market that is totally unregulated. Why not become a professional recruitment supplier after all? So Roland, I think you got a few gifts for those that have attended today.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Paul. We have a few. So first of all, if this is of interest and if you think that this could benefit you and your business, we are offering a free 30-day trial. So if you're interested, please feel free to get in touch, or if you know someone who might be interested, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to help. Also, we do have a free ebook, Paul, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So,
Excellent.
yeah, we put the years of experience that we've got together. You know, two great minds think alike. So Roland and myself have put a bunch of white papers together. We've got some fantastic blogs, even if I don't say so myself, some white papers and fact sheets that can make your life a little bit easier. Yeah, even if you don't want to implement skills testing right now, get a copy of the ebook, implement it into your sales process. If for no other reason, if you're bidding for a new client, they would see this as a benefit of your business. So we're happy to work with companies, give them a free trial, see if it works for you. There's literally no cost to using the service, but take a look at the free ebook. If for no other reason, I'm sure it will help you understand why so many recruitment companies today are implementing skills testing and psychometric profiling.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Hopefully, this was a very useful presentation. In terms of the next steps, we're going to be sharing these slides with you. So we'll be in touch regarding the free trial, the ebook, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to get in touch. Right?
Yeah, just before we wrap things up, I can see that we've had 7 or 8 questions that have come through. Just to pick a couple of the top themes. So one of the questions that we've had from a couple of people. Forgive me, John, I don't know where you're actually based, but the REC is largely based in the UK. I'm sure there are professional bodies around Europe. Forgive me, I'm not quite sure where you're geographically based. So I think the REC would recommend skills testing. I think if you get qualified as a recruiter, then that would be a strong recommendation that it's implemented as part of the onboarding. There's a question, Richard, what platform does it work on? I think Roland kind of mentioned that it's a completely cloud-based solution, so you just need a URL to click the link and take the test. For many software suppliers that Avoider included, of course, it's an integrated solution. So you would normally invite candidates via email. They would do the test, and once the test has been taken, the results would be sent back to the ISV platform. And then obviously you can use a recruitment CRM to search and filter on people who have taken or not taken the tests. So hopefully that answers your question. Does it work on a Mac, Sally? Yes, absolutely works on a Mac. It's any browser-based application. So valid question there. A couple of people have mentioned costs for corporates. Roland, I believe we've got 2 different pricing models. Am I right to say we've got pay-as-you-go for the sort of low volume, and then there's like a corporate deal? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So prices are mainly based on the features you're going to be using and utilizing, as well as the number of candidates you're going to be putting through the system. So obviously we'll be more than happy to have those conversations tailored to your specific needs.
Yeah. Just to sort of wrap up on a couple of these other final questions, there's 7 or 8 people asking about specific tests. Am I right to say that Office is still our benchmarking test? Most commonly used test is the Office one, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have different versions of the test itself, as I've mentioned, and I've showed you before. These are interactive as well. So at the end of the session, we will indeed send you an email with the resource kit, and the resource kit is going to tell you a little bit more about ISV itself and a little bit more about the tests you can use. And if you're interested in any of those, the free trial will be there for you to be able to set yourself up as a candidate, just to see the candidate experience and how it works on the other side.
Right, and one last question before we finish up. I'm not sure what your name is. You just put a couple of initials in there, but how many tests are there? There's 200 tests in total, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously there's no limit, because you can create your own.
I got it. Okay. All right, brilliant. Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for joining me and Roland here today. I hope you found that of benefit. The entire recording will be available for you. Feel free to share it with your colleagues and anybody that weren't able to attend. And yeah, if you want that free test and trial, get in touch. We look forward to hearing from you soon. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.